I didn't insinuate that you knew what it was like to be high. It was just something that you had said. I just started to go along with it.
Hey, I'm a child of the, not child, product of the 70s.
A product.
That's as far as I'm going on that one.
He's a child of the 70s. 1870.
Anyway.
You're listening. What are we doing again, Doug? You're reading the paper. What paper
We're
are you reading
talking about pot, and I don't know why. You're listening to Santa Clarita's hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS, the Gazette Radio Hour. All you need to know to be in the know.
To be in the know.
All right, John. Here we go.
You were complaining. You were complaining. It was my complaint.
Okay, look, and I wrote about this, folks. If you want to read more in depth about it, I wrote it in my rant, Doug's rant, in the Santa Clarita Gazette and Free Classifieds in this week's issue. Now, John, during my day, I've been known as Mr. What If. You know, I was What If. Doug is Mr. What If.
It's kind of like a newer thing.
So let's go through some of these because this is a serious.
So you're a pessimist, really?
Yes.
I never would have guessed.
Yeah. John, what if it's true that our country's debt is instead of 17 trillion is really over 200 trillion, as many believe, because of off-the-record debt like Social Security and Medicare?
Well, wait a minute. Okay, can I answer?
We don't have time for you to respond to everyone.
So censorship, freedom. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll just sit here quietly.
What if it's true that we borrow half of what we spend every day? Half of what we spend every day of the week, John, while wasting $10 million on that same day.
Most people do that. It's called credit cards.
Yep. Now, John, what if China quit lending us money? And what if, John, they demanded immediately to be paid back?
It would be very easy to get very good Chinese food.
I'm trying to be serious.
On the corners.
I'm trying to be serious.
Actually, the scary part is I am too.
John, what if China joined with other countries like Russia to avoid accepting or using the U.S. dollar? They just shut our currency out of the world market.
It would be very difficult to travel to Europe.
Yeah. All right. John, do you think we're on the same path the Roman Empire was?
You know, that's an actually interesting thing. I finish up, and we'll come back to that one.
Because a lot of people think, and they study it, and they're tracking, because back in the day, long time ago, nobody ever thought the Roman Empire was like the United States, the most powerful nation in the world, and they fell.
Is that what you thought when you were
Easy. John, what if major banks were to collapse again like they did in 2008?
Gee, I would never imagine a major bank collapsing.
And what if we didn't have the money, or the money was worthless to bail them out?
I could never see major banks collapsing.
John, let me ask you a question. What if you kept putting more and more money on your credit cards, and then used your other credit cards to pay those other credit cards off? Would that bubble eventually burst?
Oh, you want me to answer now?
Yeah.
I was never sure when you want me to answer these things. These are like rhetorical or not
rhetorical. If you did that, would there eventually be problems in your financial life?
Perhaps.
Okay.
I would have a government bailout.
Do you think it's possible? What if superinflation were to hit?
No, it's another thing. You're pulling out terms. You got to make sure you understand what they mean. We'll talk about exactly.
I know exactly.
Okay,
Go ahead.
All right.
Interject.
No, I won't interject until you're done.
Hyperinflation is when the cost of goods skyrockets, which it has in other countries. Recently, it's happened in Argentina, and there's another country it happened. The price of gas could. And I'm saying, what if it did, and it could triple in 24 hours? Look what happens now if there's a crisis overseas. How much does gas shoot up now?
You can take a look at some of the futures markets when it comes to
I'm talking about a crisis.
I understand. Okay. I understand what you're saying.
Because if we keep printing money and printing money and printing money and printing money and keep borrowing and borrowing, this bubble is going to burst. And my fear is when it does, we could have hyperinflation take over where the price of food, the price of gas could skyrocket, and millions of people could not afford to put gas in their car or buy groceries. And then there could be riots, run on the stores, and this is all fact. It's your turn.
Okay, I've got questions for you, Doug. Okay, you want to play the game? We'll teach you. We'll pretend like you're a candidate running for office. Okay, congratulations, Mr. Sutton. You've pointed out some problems. Gee, how do you fix them there, Mr. Sutton?
Agree.
Don't you think the problem? Let's go back to the Roman Empire, the Russian Empire. The Roman Empire. Okay, what happened first? The moral decay, the economic decay.
So you're agreeing with me?
I'm not disagreeing with some of your aspects. I think the hyperinflation has been something that people have talked about for a while.
And you don't think it could happen?
I think the monetary controls that are in place. Nonpartisan monetary controls. I'm not going to place the blame or the credit for anybody. I think there are some controls in place where something even worse will happen and is happening, and that's moderate to high inflation, not the hyperinflation overnight.
Okay, we've all experienced the moderate.
Absolutely.
How much does a steak cost now, and what did it cost you 5 years ago?
Well, what did it cost you when you were
A lot less.
gas was what, 5 cents a gallon?
I remember when gas was 65 cents a gallon. I also remember, John, when there was gas lines.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember.
Okay.
Do you remember rationing?
And well, yes.
Even in odds.
Okay, so it happened then. What if
It didn't happen.
What
then.
if?
What happened then was different. That's supply demand. Okay.
What I'm talking about, excuse me for interrupting, we're up against the clock, is
We always are.
this obviously is something that we hope and pray doesn't happen and shouldn't happen. But all the pieces are in place where it could. All it takes is a few rogue countries or something that happened like happened in '08, and it could all come tumbling down,
it could
very well affect us and our families very negatively.
Congratulations, we've gone full circle, because that goes back to what I was talking about earlier with the complete void of leadership that I think is causing, and quite honestly, even more important, the moral decay.
Yes.
I think that's a huge thing.
Right
I
along
think
with it. Right along with it.
The hey, what can the government do for me mindset? I can't survive on my own. They're talking about what, the economic zones?
Promise,
Right? The promise zones.
Yeah.
Right? Promise zones. You know what they're supposed to do? They're supposed to raise the children so that they become productive members of society. Gee, last time I checked, that was the parents' job, not the government's job. I don't want the government to raise my kids to become productive members of society.
Now, let me ask you, if we're actually borrowing half of what we spend every day, let me say it again, we borrow half of what we spend every day, where are we going to get the money to pay for these promise zones?
Oh, we're going to,
I'm asking.
We're going to borrow. We're going to raise taxes.
And then if we keep spending like this and keep getting deeper and deeper in debt and keep printing more money, something's got to give somewhere. Do you agree with me?
Just like anything else, Doug, just like anything else, if I have the money to spend, okay, I want new golf clubs. Okay, and I've been looking, I've been searching, I'm having a good time doing it, and I actually bought a golf bag today, but I didn't buy it. I don't have any golf clubs, but so if anybody's selling golf clubs, misclassified, where are you when we need you? The problem is that we have this money to spend. It's how we spend it. What are we really investing in? When we're letting the government raise our children to become productive members of society. Why? Wouldn't that money be better off going to, I don't know, programs that make sense? That's number one. So I think that's issue one, and I think we kind of both agree on that. And I don't have a problem with government spending. I don't think you do either. But I think it's the amount of government spending.
It has to be on the right things, and it has to be balanced.
Exactly.
You have to spend what you bring in.
Yeah,
just like our business, just like our household,
just
the amount of money that you bring in has to equal the amount of money that you spend.
Yeah, I agree entirely. All right. I'm done with this, Doug.
Let's go to local politics.
Oh, that's so much more cheery. Yeah. All right.
Let's go.
You're listening to Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John, Santa Cruz, hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS. We'll be right back.